Where you from? 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 Staten Island. Where you from? 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 From the bone they forgot about. What's that about? Smoke clear, we still here with the hammers out. Yellow tape it out, seen shell casing doubt. Niggas die out here, check the body count.
The spring of 1994 brought protests and solidarity to Park Hill with the police killing of Ernest Sayon.
Ernest Sayon, a.k.a. Rabbit, he was a good brother to me. What the cops did to him was wrong, dead wrong.
Since that day, this tree became a symbol in the memory of a man loved by so many.
There was an incident where the police, they arrested a guy from a neighborhood. There was a librarian, and he just recently caught a case, and he got out of jail, and they didn't like the fact that, you know, he just was caught up in some incident, but the law protects you in a way that the court system protects you in a way where you have rights, but out on the street, the cops, they violate your rights.
The police do not come into our communities the way they go into other communities. And there are some good police officers. I am not going to degrade the whole New York City Police Department because it's not true. But there is a large majority that don't see you and I with the same eye that they see a white woman or a white man, and definitely don't see our children with the same eye as they see a white teen.
There's one day, it was Officer Brown. He was just, when I first seen him out there, he was just out there driving up on the sidewalk with his little scooter, just messing with people, harassing people. Where you from? And this guy was a nerd that grew up in the block. Yeah, I said it. And this one particular day, there was some people throwing M80s, these cherry bombs, and it just scared the police, and they jumped out at him. He was just walking down the street. Case was just walking down the street, and the cop walked behind him and hit him in the back of the head with a gun and kind of dazed him, and he went to hold on to a tree. And he hit him again trying to pull him off the tree and knocked him unconscious and then dragged him by his hoodie. And his pants came off, exposing himself in the neighborhood, and meanwhile, he's choking the guy, he's unconscious, cut off his air supply.
People was outside witnessing this to let him go, that you're choking him, he can't breathe, he's not moving, and they still was choking him.
Ernest was a big guy. I felt they felt threatened because of his weight, and they all attacked him. They wrestled him to the floor. It was like 5 or 6 officers over him. I don't know the exact number, but it was more than 3. They was over him. I mean, one of them had the knee on the back, and one had his elbow behind his neck.
He's out, cold, clearly. All right, mission accomplished. You a tough guy, you choked him out. He's out. This dude is still going.
He's choking the guy, he's unconscious, cut off his air supply, threw him in a van with a bunch of guys that they arrested, and the guys are telling the police, hey, this guy is not, you think he's dead. And they really didn't take it serious until they probably, before they got to the precinct, they moved him, they took him out of the car, and some of his clothes came up missing or whatever, and they was just covered it up.
And this is not like they took him to some alley and they beat him out of sight, out of mind. They just was beating him, you know? And it was a black cop.
I had this officer that grew up in Park Hill that went to 49 with a young man. And Officer Brown, thinking about him, from talking with him and talking to the guys, Brown was bullying him a lot in school. And he was not part of the gang, he was not part of nothing, but Brown was just a little normal kid, small in the body. And he felt people was taking advantage of him because of his size. And Brown went to school. From school, he became a police officer, actually. But then, I think the wrong thing he did, or the police department did, was to place Brown in the neighborhood that he grew up in, you know. And I think Brown actually came back to the neighborhood because he knew who was who. You know, the guys that were bullying him, he wanted to prove to them, now he's a cop. they can run from him. And the guys wasn't, they were not afraid of Brown.
Brown was a guy who he tried to intimidate you, but you wasn't going for it because you know who you are, you know what you was about. And it was more of a, I got you now, I got a badge now, so you gotta listen to me, you know. This is the way I'm getting back at y'all. I grew up in this neighborhood, you bother me, you tease me, you know, he got chased home many a time living in the neighborhood. So even that, a form of Rabbit doesn't live out here. Rabbit wasn't born in America, but he know, and you hear, yo, that's Brown. Cats used to chase him home, you know what I mean? Now he's a police officer, now he's back in the neighborhood, and he's doing these things.
The thing with the 120 is they feel entitled to treat people from Park Hill, especially on the North Shore, to act like that toward us. You know what I'm saying? This cop fell right in line with that. You know, they never would have pulled that in South Beach. They never would have pulled that in New York. You know what I'm saying? But in Park Hill, Stapleton, New Brighton, West Brighton, North Shore, the 120 cops, no problem.
Every time something happened to a black man or an African-American man, if that man ever had a criminal history or ever had a fight or even had a juvenile record, they quick to put it on the news. What I did 15 years ago has nothing to do with what happened to me today.
And the cop even got he got an award for doing that. And it just goes back to, you know, the slave mentality on, you know, how things were. But, you know, the guy wasn't a model citizen, but still, it was just to pull somebody off the street like that and just kill him without regard and try to cover it up. And then the city just lets it happen. It's just, you know, what happens in New York City.
I mean, all you had to do was lock a person up, handcuff him, and bring him to jail if he did anything. The next day, I heard the brother had passed away.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. That was the song. As long as I live, I will never forget that song. That was the song in everybody's mouth. The babies, no justice, no peace. The old folks, no justice, no peace. And we was in the streets, and people was chanting us on, and we went on.
Justice, no peace.
Police do say he died in their custody, but the neighborhood here is telling a very different story. People in the community are claiming that he died because of police brutality.
I don't care what NYPD could tell you. I don't care what the hospital could tell you. From what I saw, he didn't look like he was alive. He was just, his neck was hanging to the side. He was not conscious, and they threw him in the back of the van.
And these cops were out there smacking him in the face. We didn't know if this kid was dead. We didn't know if they was coercing this kid to try and speak.
Then they gonna say, well, it couldn't be racist because it was a black cop who killed a black man. Of course it's racist. A black cop couldn't beat down a white man with the presence of other white cops helping along, okay? Only reason that Ernest died is because he is a black man, and I'm tired of this going on, and I'm not gonna stand for no more.
We felt so violated because everybody felt like there's a kid that didn't do a thing to anyone.
To me, I look at it as kind of a revolution. At the beginning of a revolution, you started seeing people started realizing that, hey, listen, we need to start getting involved in our community. We need to, to participate and see what's going on, because, I mean, we're not in control of our community anymore. I mean, the cops are running things. I mean, you have precincts, you have cops all over, Park Hill. I mean, pretty much doing whatever they wanted to do.
The streets got packed. Everybody. It wasn't about American or African that day. It was about being a Park Hillian, you hear me? We was there. We were soldiers marching to City Hall for our brother. It wasn't just about him, it was about every one of us.
Ernest Sayon's death brought to home the problems that Black Americans have been dealing with for centuries. That is racism, in my opinion. That is the power of the police and the brutality that is inflicted upon us. Malcolm X talks about the rooster comes home to roost. Liberians experienced this with the death of Ernest Sayon. It was death by asphyxiation. Here's a young man arrested, taken in police custody, and then he dies in their hands. They killed him.
I remember everybody being outraged, everybody being angry. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was on wanting to kill a cop.
And let me tell you something, if Officer Brown gets away with this, which he's not, I don't think it's gonna be some shit breaking out, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna start from right here, from where the brother lost his life at.
We gotta represent, G. We gotta represent. Because if we don't represent, you understand what I'm saying? It could be you the next time. It could be you.
Now, people in different neighborhoods, people in white neighborhood, white people in general don't understand that mentality. But when you go up in a neighborhood where you see cops brutalize people for no reason, it's easy to justify why you would want to kill a police officer, any police officer. It's easy to justify that. You know what I'm saying? Who wouldn't want to strike back at a perceived oppressor?
What I saw was the Africans and the African Americans coming together to get these answers as to why this Liberian national was killed at the hands of the New York City Police Department.
I believe we never got justice for Ernest Sayon. It was kicked under the rug because he was a black man.
For the first time, I observed this unity coming into the community. And I mean, if there's any kind of concession, it'd be good to know that his death wasn't in vain, that he was able to bring the two communities together, because here you have a Liberian kid who was born in Liberia, who moved to Staten Island and Park Hill, but he was beloved by both sides. And despite whatever road he was going down, his death actually brought the community together. That was my first time really seeing a Liberian becoming active. Prior to that, you had Crown Heights, you had Howard Beach, and all these different things happen. But it wasn't part of the Liberian community. When Rabbit died, people came together, and I saw sort of this unifying of the African Americans on Staten Island. And since then, they've been one strong unit.
Who's got the biggest gang in NYC? You think I'll ever stop heckling cops? Try to show some respect for the cops? Who's got the biggest gang in NYC? One zone, they run New York. They get away with murder, literally. Verdict comes in, I wanna kill the jury. Got them on tape and they claim not guilty. When Rodney took knife sticks to the grill piece, and Diallo took 41 shots.
The new millennium saw an end to the Liberian Civil War, but Park Hill was about to experience the aftershocks of the war.